Shalom Aleichem, Mishpaka. Shemi Achaja Yisrael. Praise Yahweh. Praise Yahweh, Ben Yahweh. All right. We're going to be continuing from the 11th kingdom that fell to Yeshua ben Nun, which was Hebron. Again, I believe we last left off on the seat, which is a place in which something occurs or is established. So upon them setting up the government here, they started to establish societies, secret societies, ones that would go out with spells of charmers, charming the people, building companies, which was enchantments of widespreading their ideology, their philosophies, as well as building up their associations. And, coming to a point of being influential to the other nations to join them with this compact of a society that would be responsible for keeping Israel in the dark and a workhorse to support their nations through produce, production, as well as, jobs and stuff like that, coming up with things to keep Israel within a box of servitude. And they coupled together, which was the fellowship and heap, and they set up leagues. Now, this to me sounds like Psalms chapter 2, right? Verse 1 through 3, and Psalms 83, 2 through 5. Let's just read that really quick to prove a point. Praise Yahweh. I hope again y'all having a wonderful morning. It's about 4 a.m., 4:46 right now where I'm at. Got to get up early and get this word in so I can get all of the things I need to get done knocked out. Psalm chapter 2, verse 1 through 3. Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. And against the Lord, Yahweh, this counsel was about, as well as against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So look, they had a seat of association, right? And it was a society of only the rulers and kings who came together to cast forth this spell of discarding and disuniting our people. Psalms 83, 2 through 5. Let's see what this council and secret society and spell was about. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Now, the only thing that can lift up the head without moving is a snake. Because remember, they're described as being like snakes, right? So they lifted up their head and they striked our mind, putting us to sleep. Check this out. They have taken crafty counsel together against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come on, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Why? For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. So let's just take a pause and let's just look at a few of these words. Let's grab our New Lexicon Webster Dictionary. I want to look up a few of these words with you so that we can get a better idea of why they did this. All right. So first thing I want to look up is, well, tumult means to make chaotic in the mind, right? So I want to look up crafty, because we ain't talking about like craft noodles over here. We ain't talking about that kind of craft. And we ain't also talking about arts and crafts. They wasn't talking about let's build things with the Hebrews and put it up on the wall. Sorry. It wasn't that nice. All right. Praise Yahweh. Had this. All right. Right here. Right here, mate. Craft. Ooh. Right here. Guild. Look at that. A guild. Wow. Crafty. A craftier. Wildly deceitful. Wildly deceitful. They said, let's be wildly deceitful with the Hebrews. Wow. Council, as you already know, it's a bunch of people coming together. They said, let's take us crafty counsel against the Lord Yahweh and his hidden ones. Wildly deceitful. We know what deceitful is. Wow. Well, let's go ahead and continue. We have a lot of things to cover today. A seat is a place in which something occurs or is established, a place in which administrative powers is centered. Well, that would be like their United Nations, the White House, right? Your congressmen, congressional offices, and things like that. This is where power is administered, right? And few synonyms for seat that I found was legislative, senatorial, synodic, congressional, parliamentary, bureaucratic, executive, and association. Now, an association is an organization of people with a common purpose having a formal structure. So we already just found out that the enemies of Yahweh and his hidden ones, or his children, are wildly deceitful people. That means they come and spawn from Satan, who is the father of lies, who is a murderer from the beginning, right? Who spreads nothing but deceit through his philosophy. So now we know we're dealing with the devil himself and his little delegates, right? And they all come together in an association, meaning they are under a compact contract, which only the society acknowledges, with secret codes and handshakes. And they pass along messages of how they could decryptedly break down Israel to make it look like it's us doing this to ourselves and not the influential powers that be that constructed an environment to produce these things. That's why they call the projects a project. Well, what's a project? It's something that you create, right? When you treat someone with such bad trauma for over 310 years, physical, and then when you have to let them go because you want to run a trick, so you let them go from physical bondage, but then you keep their minds in physical, you keep their minds in spiritual and figurative bondage, and you have dumbed them down to a point where, you know, a great deal of the people are illiterate or they hate to read because of the trauma of being caught reading when a slave, getting your teeth pulled out, tongues cut off, lips ripped off, burned at the stake, roasted like hot dogs, hung, you know, all of these bad things. It breeds fear. And these traumas can be passed on through the seed. So then when you let them go. They go out, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they build all of these places after slavery, proving that to be more productive than their slave owners. So then you bomb them, you flood the cities, you send the Ku Klux Klan through there to hang and shoot niggas and all kind of stuff. And you further disband the people from coming together because you have caused more fear that, hey, we come together and we start to build within a community that's greater than the opposite component, then we're going to be destroyed. So then you breed in fear from us coming together, and you start to break apart and disjoin the hope within a community. And then you use the red light district when we try to buy houses, in certain neighborhoods in the 1930s, and you have another secret society compact conjoined agreement that, hey, if a nigga try to buy a new house, you can't sell him insurance. And we all know, for us homeowners, when you buy a house, you have to have home insurance and home warranty. It's part of the contract, the contractual agreement. And if you can't get that, then they can't sell you that house. So then they set up a thing called low-income housing, which is an area that's been totally stripped of its resources. Low income means broken down, deteriorating houses and buildings, and then they move you all over there, and they call it the projects. You can look that up. Again, everything is an associated compact agreement of establishing a certain agenda for Israel to make us look like we're the ones doing this to ourselves. And then when we were still united in some ways of us, at that time being called colored, having colored restrooms, colored restaurants and all of that stuff. And neighbors were sharing with neighbors. We still had a sense of unity. Then in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, you start to flood our neighborhoods with first crack, which is from the Contra connection. Yep, the Contra connection. Go ahead and look that up, where FBI agents was coming out, calling whistleblowers of how they were told to set up hidden bases within the Black community and the Latino community, and they would leave guns and drugs in alleyways to sell so that the Black people and the Latinos would start to war and destroy each other. Now, again, I'm not calling the Latinos Israel. They are not. They have their own thing, right? I'm just saying, this is the people they was wanting to utilize these things against. So then it causes gangs to be created because now they want money because they living in a low income area. They can't get no good, decent job because of their skin tone. And then they start to break the law. And when it comes down to getting money, they start to get gluttonous for it. And then, of course, blood touches blood and all of these things. So, again, and then they can sit back and say, oh, look what these Black people doing. Oh, Black people so crazy. Oh, Black people so this. But, again, they're the puppet master that controls your environment, your reality. And I was just bringing up to my wife, I was just saying, it's funny how in the Black community, majority or all the schools are named after slave owners to keep you in that spiritually enslaved state. So again, that's the association. The people with a common purpose, right? Having a formal structure, meaning they have an algorithm that they follow. That's why, in the music game, which is part of the government, right? They have contracts where they won't allow too many conscious rappers in the game. That's why a lot of conscious rappers, that get in the game, they first come off as street. And then once they get in there, they start to transition from that to what they was really about. But then a lot of times their record label starts to hide them and don't put out their music because they don't want you to wake up consciously. They want you to stay unconscious, killing yourself, doing drugs and sliding on your supposed ops, but it's your brother. Now, the connection to this is the relationships, right? It's the confederations. Again, it's the Congress, it's the syndicates, it's the sodalities, it's the alliances, and it's the guild, right? Now, the societies that they set up as an organized group of persons associated together for religious, benevolent, cultural, scientific, political, patriotic, and other purposes. So again, they use these religious things, and again, they flood our neighborhoods with their churches, right? And they storm your mind with pictures of European counterparts, elicited as religious personnel to make you want to follow that because this is all you know. But I always pose the question to my family, why would your enemies that hung you, that did all of these bad things to you, give you the real God? And they do everything to keep you down, to keep you stupid. Why would they give you the real God so you could be enlightened and lifted up? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But my people, we are spiritual people, so I guess they just try to cling to anything. But when it comes down to their true God, Yahweh, they don't want to cling to it because they got so used to living a sinful lifestyle that I guess they figured if they come into the truth and they don't live by personal opinion, then they have to be accounted for the things that they do. And accountability is hard to handle when you're not grown up in the mind. When you want to continue to blame someone else for your position and not really look at the source, then, of course, you'll keep running from the truth. The cultural is a spell. It's a culture and it's a jungle. That's why I say it's a jungle out here, right? Now, the spell is a word or phrase supposed to have magic powers or incantations, which is a state of period of enchantment and living under a spell. Now, for this, we got Deuteronomy 11:28, as well as 28, verse 15 through 20. Let's go over there and see what these are. Praise Yahweh. Okay, I said Deuteronomy. Let's go to 11:28 first. 11:28. A curse if ye will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God Yahweh, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day to go after other gods which ye have not known. Verse 29, and it shall come to pass when the Lord Yahweh thy God have brought thee in unto the land whither thou goest to possess it, that thou shalt put the blessings upon Mount Gerizim and the curse upon Mount Ebal, right? So we was told that we was going to be under a curse if we went and started to serve other gods. And this is why they flood our neighborhoods with all of these religions, right? Then I said Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 through 20. All right. Verse 15, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy baskets in thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, and the increase of the kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord Yahweh shall send upon thee cursings, vexations, rebuke, and all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So they know that we're not supposed to serve other gods. So again, they have a society that studies our book, and they figure out all the ways that they can trick Israel into the sins and the transgressions of our law, because they know that Yahweh will continue to curse us. And when he continues to curse us, Yahweh keeps us in servitude to them. So that's why they're so proficient in what they do and making us look like we're doing this to ourselves. But they have orchestrated the game, and they also the refs, and they call the shots. So this is why we are still under these curses, and they get worse and worse as the generations come along, because we are breaking the law. If you know, it's like really just wow. It's like this is a well thought out plan, right? Let's influence them to break their own law, so that their own God will continue to curse them, and he'll keep them under our foot, and then we can continue to rule the world that way. So that's why they do everything to dispel and try to cause disprovement in your mind to anyone who comes with the truth. And then they'll try to assassinate them, but they couldn't actually assassinate the Son of Man. They had to follow scripture with Yahweh being Yahweh, but they still assassinated his character. They still crucified his character, right? So this is why they did it. They're following prophecy. If we do these unto these people, their own God will curse them. We're gonna make them put their own foots in their own mouth. Now, the charmer is a person, especially one who uses his or her personal charm to influence or persuade others. A person who uses charm or spells, right? For this, we got Deuteronomy chapter 18:11. Let's see what that's talking about. See what this charmer is. Like you charm a snake. Let's see. Deuteronomy 18:11. Or a charmer or a counselor with familiar spirits, or a wizard and a necromancer. Look at that. Necromancer is dealing with the dead. Necro. So these charmers are consulters, and they are familiar with the spirits, as well as like wizards of dealing with the dead, keeping you dead, keeping you dead. Wow. What a shock. Company is a number of individuals assembled or associated together, which is a group of people of companionship, fellowship, and an association. Look at that. You know what? I am just like my mind is just blown at this information, you know, and it's like, I thought to myself, it's about time that I share it. You know, I waited a long time before I even brought it up to even do this class, because I was waiting to see if anybody else would do it. But I guess nobody else found this information. So I decided, you know what, let me put this out here so that my people can hear this message. You know, try to let it hang. You know what I'm saying? I want to go to, before we move on, I want to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. I'm going to stop right there, because we got to hear the conclusion of this whole matter, so that we can fear Yahweh, keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Praise Yahweh. Now, when it's dealing with a company of these number of individuals, we're going to go to Genesis chapter 15, verse 18 through 21, as well as Joshua chapter 12, verse 9 through 24. But for right now, let's focus on Genesis chapter 15, 18 through 21. In the same day, the Lord made covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the rivers of Egypt and the great rivers of the Euphrates, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, and the Cadmonites, the Hittites, Perizzites, the Rephaims, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. So all of these people were in our land at that time. But we were told that we were going to receive our land through Abraham anyway. So these other people in here was not going to like that too much. It didn't nestle down in our land right after the flood. So yeah, we got some competition. It may appear. All right. Now Joshua chapter 12, verse 9 to 24, we're gonna find out again, and this is where we got the 31 kingdoms from. All right, that Joshua had to go and put that work in to reclaim it. Right? We're going to read verse 8 too. In the mountains and in the valleys and in the plains and in the springs and in the wilderness and in the south country, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, the king of Jericho, 1, the king of Ai, which is beside Bethel, 1, the king of Jerusalem, 1, the king of Hebron, 1, the Jarmuth, 1, the king of Lachish, 1, the king of Edom, of Eglon, 1, the king of Gezer, 1, the king of Debir, 1, the king of Gedor, 1, the kingdom of Hamah, 1, the king of Ard, 1, the king of Libnah, 1, the king of Abdullam, 1, the king of Mekkedah, 1, the king of Bethel, 1, the king of Tappuah, 1, the king of Herper, the king of Apek, 1, the king of Lasharon, 1, the king of Modon, 1, the king of Hazar, 1, the king of Shimron, Mimron, 1, the king of Akashaph, 1, the king of Tanakh, 1, the king of Megiddo, 1, the king of Kadesh, 1, the king of Yokedam, 1, Carmel, 1, the king of Dor and the coast of Dor, 1, the king of the nations of Gilgal, 1, and the king of Tirzah, 1. All these kings, 30-1. So this is where we got this information from. So these are the people who have come together and they made a compact association. And they said, we ain't allowed to physically eradicate all of them, but we're going to wait for them to slip up. We're going to influence them with our gods because we understand that these are hard-headed, stiff-necked people, and they have turned against Yahweh in the past. They'll turn against Yahweh again in the future. And when they seen the opportunity, they sprang into action. And they came in with the charmers, right, selling us these false pipe dreams. And like Sodom's children, we believed it, which then rattled Yahweh's temperament, and he did what he said he was going to do. He was going to consume us out of our land and push us out into further bondage. And he was going to push Judah to an abroad country that was similar to Egypt, similar to Babylon, similar to Sodom, where we would have been in servitude for 400 years. And this is where we're at right now. Right? Now, we are going to keep marching on a little bit. Enchantment is to subject to magical influence, place under a spell, bewitched in the state of being enchanted. Well, that's talking about Revelation chapter 12:9, because Satan had deceived the whole world. Now, I'm not talking about this man that's in a pot, stirring it up like gumbo, whispering words, and you see him fumes and gas being eliminated and all of this stuff. No, I'm not talking about that. This magical charm or this magical influence is all dealing with the mind, right? It's all about how great he is to induce you to doing wrong when you can know that is wrong, but your mind will convince you to do it anyway, because your mind is the most deceitful beast amongst the field. Why? Because that's where Satan attacks. He attacks your mind with impulses of lust, desire, wants, needs, and he'll attack your subconscious, right? And your subconscious will hold on to this information for weeks if it has to, and it'll start to send dopamine to their preconscious, which then the preconscious is getting all of these signals, which then tingles the four parts of your brain, and then it enters into your conscious until you make it an action, because it's like an urge, an itch you got to scratch, right? And that's why it's magical, because it works over time. And this is how it destroys us. Now, remember, they are compact, meaning they are joined and packed together. And this heap is accumulated a mass. So they have successfully caused a heap from like the Aya, right? Aya is a heap of crowns, right? That is encircled on every side, either to attack or protect, right? 12th is Jarmuth, which is the elevation, and it's to be high, active, to rise or raise, bring up, exalt self, extol, give, go up, haughty, have, set up on high, loud, presumptuously, promote, and take off. This is talking about them setting up their religion and setting themselves up in these high places to start to make people think that they're the chosen, and to influence the other cultures to do the same, right? To take our book and transliterate it into their languages and to promote their religion, to cause confusion around the world as of who is the true people. But our book is the original, the Torah, right? Which is the book of the law, the Tanakh. And we are all depicted again from the transliterations on back. Israel is still black. Praise Yahweh. And that's just big facts. I tell you that. So we are going to pause it right here. We are at the 32-minute mark. It's just crazy how one kingdom took us through all of that. So we're going to go ahead and pause it right here. I love you, family. I hope y'all had a good afflicted Day of Atonement. Yesterday evening when it ended. Let's really strive to be better. Don't let yourself fall for the same old tricks. Instead of doing the same old things, getting the same old results, like an insane person running into the wall, expecting the door to just form there. Let's dust ourselves off. Let's stay prayed up. Let's stay learning. Remember to keep your mind focused on Yahweh Ben Yahweh. All of us that do these classes and stuff, our job is not to build a following of our own. That's not our job. Any true teacher of Yahweh will let you know the main focus is to put your mind onto Yahweh Ben Yahweh. So we only really do these classes to show forth our connection with the Old Testament Hebrews and the New Testament, because we the same people, right? And to point out to you the clues and detail as possible for you when you go watch a Yahweh Ben Yahweh video, you are watching the true Messiah, right? That's what the whole point of any one of us that do these classes, whoever you watch, if they're not trying to point you back to the true Messiah, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, because again, Revelations, which is the last days, which is being revealed in the last days, really quick, Revelations, which was written, by the way, by John, tells you in 11, verse 8, right? It says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city, talking about America, which is spiritually called, not actually called, spiritually called. What's another way for saying spiritually? Figuratively called, right? Figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord Yahweh, Ben Yahweh, was crucified. They didn't crucify Yeshua or Yeshua or Jesus in Israel. Israel is called the land of promise, the holy city. It was never called Sodom, and it was never referenced as Egypt. America got pyramids and sphinx like Egypt. America is high with the laws of promoting certain things. I'm not trying to get my video taken down. They already did that. But, you know, it's just like Sodom. What happened in Sodom, right? You know, America is high with imagery. Again, on the back of your American dollar, what is it? A pyramid. You know, again, they have a city called Memphis right off of the Mississippi River. In Egypt, they got a city called Memphis right off the Nile. I mean, come on, people. Both Memphises got pyramids and sphinx. Just saying. Again, so this is the spiritual Egypt here. As well as it got spiritual, it got names from Israel here. You know, again, because this is a spiritual, figurative place where everything's taking place right now. Right? Not the physical place, just a spiritual place, right? So that you can be associated to back home and to back to the land that we were used to roaming around, right? So just understand, they didn't kill Yeshua in, you know, the outskirts of Jerusalem and then brought his body, took him to Egypt, crucified him there, dug up and found Sodom because it was totally decimated, by the way, if we all know that. They didn't rebuild Sodom and then crucify him there and said, all right, that's it. But no, the crucifixion that you're all thinking of that took place in the book of Luke is just it's just an allegory, because he was the Messiah, as it just read, it was going to be crucified in the last days in Revelations chapter 11 verse 8 in a place spiritually called. So there's only one man who came in the name of God, and that's Yahweh ben Yahweh, right? Again, we're told multiple times that the Son of Man, let's just run over there real quick, right? Jeremiah 23 verse 6, right? In his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, and this is his name whereby he shall be called, the Lord Yahweh, our righteousness. A concordance would tell you, anytime you see Lord or God, in its abbreviated form, or it's a transliteration, or as well as a mask for the name Yahweh, right? So understand, this is my closing argument to you, family. You know, got to give it to you, because I want you to be in the truth, right? That's it. So, and I'm just trying to help direct you back into the fold, because that's my whole purpose of doing these videos, at least. I don't know about anybody else, but I just think our main purpose should be to give you this information so that you can, you know, find your way back to Yahweh being Yahweh. John 5:43, I come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. Pause, right? Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God. What's the Mighty God's name? Yahweh, right? The Everlasting Father. Who is the Everlasting Father? Yahweh, right? And the Prince of Peace, right? And we was already told that in our days, we're going to be saved by the one who is going to be called the Lord Yahweh, our righteousness. And then he says in John 5:43, I come in my Father's name. What's the Father's name? Yahweh. So Yeshua, the son of Yosef, is not Yahweh, right? It's not. It's just not, people. That was an allegory of how the Son of Man would walk around, what he'll be doing. He'll be revealing the name. He'll be doing all of these things. And the devil will crucify him and spread evil. They even called him a malefactor. If he was not a malefactor, we would have not delivered him up unto thee, right? And that's what they did. They made him a malefactor. They painted his image as one of a malefactor, But don't believe the hype. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. John 18:30. And they answered and said unto him, if he were not a malefactor, we would have not delivered him up unto thee. Then Pilate said unto them, take ye him and judge him according to your law. And the Jews, right, therefore said unto him, it is not lawful for us to put any man to death. Why? 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 32, that the sayings of Yahweh ben Yahweh might be fulfilled, which he spake, signifying what death he should die. Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again and called Yahweh ben Yahweh and said unto him, art thou the king of the Hebrews? Yahweh ben Yahweh answered unto him and saying, thou this thing of thyself, or do others tell it to thee of me? Pilate answered, am I a Jew? Thy own nation and the chief priests have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Yahweh ben Yahweh answered, said, my kingdom is not of this world. And if my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight that I should not be delivered to the Jews, which was Hebrews, right? But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate then said unto him, art thou the king then? Yahweh ben Yahweh answered, thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth heareth my voice. Right? So why they say by our law, it's unlawful for us to kill any man? No, it's not unlawful. It's only unlawful to slay the innocent. That's in the book of Exodus. Right? This is my closing statement. It's all I got for y'all. I thank y'all for, if you made it this far, praise Yahweh. If you do like little timestamps and all of that stuff, praise Yahweh. But this is, I try to be as detailed as possible so that you can be informed as possible. As informed as anyone can. But I just want to make sure that I give y'all, this information because it's important. Right? Thou shalt not rest the judgment of thy poor in his cause. Keep thee far from a false matter. And innocence and righteousness slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. And that is Exodus 23, verse 6 and 7. So they are forbidden to slay the innocent. That's why they couldn't slay Yahweh ben Yahweh, because he was truly innocent. But they instead imprisoned him and smeared his good name. But when you listen to any of his classes and you see the works of his, and you see his works, it's all of the Bible. All of it. So with that, I love y'all. I pray that Yahweh and Yahweh ben Yahweh bless you continuously. Please, family, come back into the fold. It is time. You gave religion their time, and none of us is saved. The communities ain't getting safer. The world is not coming into peace. Jesus ain't real. Jehovah ain't real. Allah and all them other gods that was created after Christianity, which they stole from our book, are not real. Last thing to prove my point. All right, we're going to need to go to 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 29, just to prove this point. So, I'm not talking out of my head or being disrespectful, It's just the truth. And a lot of people don't like the truth, but that's what it is. It's just the truth. It is just the truth. It's going to be what it's going to be. All right? 2 Kings 17, 29. Howbeit, every nation made gods of their own. Put the book down. If you got to make your God, he ain't real. Just saying. That's just the truth. And you can date all of these religions when these gods were created. Just saying. When it comes down to Yahweh, you can't date it. You can't. It's undateable. So, praise Yahweh. I love y'all. Have a great day. Be productive. Study, read, build a relationship, talk to Yahweh. If you atone, wonderful. This is the time where Yahweh will not hide his face from you. keep it straight. You know, we have coming up on the lunar calendar, we have on the 26th to October, I want to say 3rd, we have Feast of Tabernacles and the Holy Convocations coming up, which for us on our solar calendar, this is the correct calendar, would be our 15th day. So I pray to see y'all there. You know, this is it. We coming up to some real crazy times, family, and we need to be unified. We need to come back into the fold before it's too late. Praise Yahweh.